So, people think mastering is this. People think this is mastering. You put your song in here, then you put this on, and then you do this. You do some kind of process with your song inside, and once you got to the end, your song has come out of here, and then you've got your song. It's been mastered. It's gone through the mastering machine. You put it into the mastering machine. The mastering machine did stuff, and it comes out the other side mastered. That's not what mastering is. This is stupid. That's not what mastering is at all. Not historically, and not in the modern context, when we're talking about actual good, competent mastering engineers. So historically, what was mastering? It was taking the final mixes on reel-to-reel tape, or however you had the final mixes, and making the lacquer, which you could then take to be manufactured at a pressing plant. So you needed a mastering engineer, a very skilled technical guy, a technician, to come along to transform this thing into that thing. So historically, there were certain processes that the mastering engineer had to do or take care of or observe to make sure the cut was a good one or didn't damage his equipment. Because if you cut the higher frequencies too hot, you could even blow up your cutter head, and it's very expensive to get that repaired, or cause high frequency distortion, or if the stereo information in the bass frequencies is excessive, it could cause too much vertical modulation and make the needle skip on playback. And then you go through all of the galvanic process and everything, and you get the test press back and play it, and it skips. That's no good. Now you've got to go back and cut it again. There was a lot of responsibility on you to get that right. And it didn't necessarily have a lot to do with, let's compress it, let's put it through a limiter to get it louder. It wasn't really about that, because you don't put it through a limiter to get it louder on vinyl anyway, because it's just about the space that you have available on the vinyl determines how loud it can be cut. So all of these things that people think of as mastering nowadays in terms of processing the sound, the kind of like your song goes in, it comes out sounding a bit different because the machinery of whatever the mastering process is has modified it to masterize it, to goodize it, or whatever you want to call that process. That is an idea that came later. That idea wasn't really even present in, at least not at the start of when people were cutting engineers, mastering engineers. That wasn't really a thing back then. That's something which came later, but the original conception of what mastering is creating a disc. You're creating the master disc. That's why you're the mastering engineer. You're not like the master in some kind of like superhero way. You're creating the master disc. That's why you're the mastering engineer. And a lot of people don't even know that. They think this is like mastering is about like some superhero thing that you're the master of, or the master of audio. Like no, that's not it. So if we just roll for a minute with the historical definition of the term mastering engineer, which means he who produces the master disc, which AI mastering service is best? It's not even a meaningful question anymore. It doesn't make sense. What AI mastering service is going to produce a physical disc? It's not physical. You're uploading data and then you're downloading stuff. So where's the disc? Where's the physical disc? So we can see that the historic term doesn't fit. But we know that nowadays mastering engineers are more than just disc producers, because many of them don't even produce discs, and the focus is often on the digital file. So you can send them a file and then they'll send you a file back. So isn't that just what I was talking about here with the machine? You put your file in, whether it's a human or a machine, and you get a file back. It's the same kind of thing. There's some kind of like mastering machine. Well, no. The way that this happened is over the years, and some people say this happened in the 90s, some people say it was in the 80s, but it's actually older than that. It's the loudness war. And the loudness war started way back, arguably even in the 60s. Now, when I had Bob Olsen on my channel a while ago now, we were discussing loudness in mastering, and he said even way back, he actually worked as a mastering engineer at Motown, and so he said even way back then in the golden age of Motown, people would hear something jump out because it was louder and be drawn to it and feel that it kind of stood out and maybe it was better. So the A&R guys were kind of drawn to louder stuff. Even back then, vinyl is kind of self-limiting in its loudness, and you're going to get more distortion and it's just not going to sound as good. But when the CD came along, now we can use digital processing to smash stuff louder. So that's why through the 80s and the 90s, with digital technology, the loudness war accelerated. But it didn't start in the 80s and 90s, it started before. It just accelerated in the 80s and through into the 90s, and then it came to some kind of finale. People joke about it was Andrew Sheps who won the loudness war with Metallica, and then from there people started to care less about the getting it loud, because then the streaming services started doing the normalization and the loudness penalties and all stuff like that, so it kind of calmed down a bit. And the way that you get something loud is also by making it balanced. So the EQ, the tonal balance, the presentation of the mix is very important in your ability to get it loud. So if you're a mastering engineer and you want to get stuff loud, well, you need to take care of these things in order to do that. It's like, if you want this, then you need to do that. But here comes the most important point in the whole video, because in order to get it loud, yes, you do need to get the tonality right and a bunch of other things in the mastering process. However, in order to get the tonality right, to get it loud, the mix has to be good for you to get the tonality right and a bunch of other things in the mastering process to get it loud, right? So the mix has to be good for that chain to go where it needs to go. But there's another thing in the chain as well, because the mix can't be good if there's not a good recording, and the recording can't be good if there's not a good song, because there is some such thing as compositional loudness or compositional impact in the music as well. I want it to be big, I want it to sound big, massive. Well, if you've got some composition which is like playing a glockenspiel with Itsy Bitsy Spider or something, it's not going to achieve that, is it? So obviously composition is a part of that as well. If you want this massive symphonic progressive metal blah 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 like wall of guitars, but the drums cut through and the vocals is there and the bass is big and everything's like amazing, there's big fat bass but there's shimmering highs and there's clarity in the mids, and we want everything. If you want that, well, you need to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff in the mastering process, but in order for that to take place, you need to do a whole bunch of stuff in the mix to get the mix good. And in order to get the mix sounding great, we need to record it really well, and in order to record it really well, you need to have really good instruments and good musicians. But in order for that to make sense, then you need good composition. So it's composition, musicians, recording, mixing, mastering, and then you get the result that you want. Now, once you understand that the end result is the product of the entire chain and not just of the mastering process, now it all starts to make sense. And now this is the kind of like the climax of my point in terms of AI mastering. AI, the robot doesn't understand any of the chain. It like looks at various songs that are well produced in the industry and says, well, this song has a crest factor of X and a lux value of Y and a tonality weighting of Z. So it just analyzes the end result of stuff and then slaps it onto your song. But it doesn't understand or care about or know about any of the preceding stuff in the chain. Okay, so I've got this reference track here. It's a great track. Let's just listen to it quick. I think most people know that track. It's the Foo Fighters. Sounds absolutely fantastic. And of course, not only is it a great song, it's a great recording and master. So I just want to take whatever they have done in their master and analyze that and transfer that to mine. So I'm going to take the tonality, the dynamic range, or all of the stuff that I can kind of like work out about this one. I'm just going to take all of that and transfer it to my recording. And my recording is actually a cover of The Pretender by the Foo Fighters. So it is compositionally the same because it's the same song. So all I need to do is steal this stuff and put it on my stuff. So I've stolen all of the tonality, the loudness, the compression. I've stolen everything from this reference track and put it on this one. For example, the EQ is quite complex, right? But it's pretty much one-to-one matched with the original reference. So let's have a listen to that. I'm just going to A/B between them so you can hear how similar they sound in tonality and the mastering process. Others. What if I say I'm not just another word? You're a pretender. What if I say I'll never surrender? As you can hear, it's perfection. That is what we need AI mastering for. It might not just be something in the mix like levels or even frequencies or even anything in the mix at all. It might be, look, I know it's a bit late in the process, but if you want that to hit the way that you are writing in your email or explaining to me on the phone, I know what might do it. Go back and change this specific part that you're playing, because there's such thing as compositional weight, compositional loudness, compositional fullness and impact. It could just be as simple as cutting out something before it hits, and it's like, yeah, I want it to hit, but there's a reverb tail and it doesn't hit because the reverb tail takes away from the impact because it lingers and then hits. You need to go and edit this out in terms of like literally just edit a part of the song out. And this is just one single example. That's just it. There could be hundreds of different examples that I could give of compositional things that can make a song really transform from good to taking it up that extra notch. Any good mastering engineer needs to know every step of the chain. You need to have worked in studios before. You need to have played guitar in a band when you were a teenager. You need to understand these things, and you need to have made electronic music if you're going to work with electronic music. You need to understand composition and mixing and mastering. You need to understand all of it. You can't just be like, I'm a mastering engineer, I run stuff through a compressor and a limiter to get it loud. That's stupid. That's not what a professional mastering engineer is in a modern context. As far as I'm aware, all of the AI mastering stuff is just this. It's just some kind of machine which your audio is inserted into it, it does stuff, and then it comes out the other side. There's not that much involvement, if any, of, oh no, I've listened to it and I think that this could be changed. Or if you want the impact that you're going for there, that you've described to me, well then really, you're going to have to sort this out in the other part of the chain. And that's the thing. Professional mastering engineer needs to know the whole chain, not just the end of the chain. Because if you think you're a mastering engineer, if you just know the end of the chain, then you're crap. Then the robots will take your job because you're rubbish, right? And the robots are better than you. But if you know the whole chain, you've been there and done it on all of it. I'm not trying to big myself up as someone who's just like this person who does everything. Like, I know my place. I'm way more comfortable in mastering. I'm not going to be anywhere near as a professional recording engineer nowadays. I just haven't recorded in years, and I'm going to be in front of a Neve console or SSL, and I'm going to be like looking, oh, where's that button again? Oh, how do I turn on phantom power? Do I need to push or do I need to pull on the gain knob on the Neve? Or where is this? I can't remember what the broadcast button does on the Neve. Like this kind of stuff. A professional recording engineer is going to walk in there and be like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. You should have it coming through in your cans. Can you hear it? Yes. Oh, can you turn up the bass? Boom, done. However, I have done it many years ago, and so I know what goes into it, even if I'm not the best recording engineer. And even if I'm not the best composer in the world, which I'm clearly not, even if I'm not the best guitarist or drummer in the world, which I'm clearly not, I still know what goes into it to a certain degree, because I play the instruments, I've recorded the instruments, I've composed stuff myself, I know what goes into the process. That's what people want for mastering. That is the mastering process. And if you don't want that for mastering, if you don't want any feedback, if you don't want a fresh set of ears, you don't want any consultancy, you don't want someone to come along and say, you need to adjust this in your mix because it's not working and I can't get the best result in mastering unless you do this or you give me stem. If you don't want any of that, if you just want to slap some processing on your music, or just slap the processing on your music yourself. And if you want to have that specifically analog, despite the fact that most analog mastering engineers are just doing stuff with plugins nowadays and just sitting in front of their gear and they're not using it and they're not touching it and they're just using plugins. Despite that, if you want your analogness, you can just do the online thing where you just like upload your stuff and run it through the analog processing and get it sent back. You just like rent a compressor nowadays, like some analog compressor. You've got those services as well. So ultimately, the only reason why anyone should want a mastering engineer nowadays, whether it's a robot or whether it's a human, irrespective of who is doing the mastering, whether it's a machine or not, the only reason why you should want one, if you're not just getting them to do a physical disc, which most people aren't nowadays, is for their consultancy, is for their ears, for their feedback, and for their stamp of approval as a quality control in the whole process. So you need a mastering engineer who understands that whole process, and most human mastering engineers don't even understand that whole process, let alone like AI mastering services don't understand even the mastering process, let alone all the rest of it. So how can that be good? How can you send your music to an AI platform and it's going to give you all of this in-depth feedback? We're not at that stage yet. Maybe in another 10 years it will be that good. But right now, it's not at that stage where it's going to give you detailed feedback and allow you to achieve what you're envisioning in your mind and in your notes. Is not going to allow you to do that by just running it through the mastering machine. This is such a stupid understanding of what mastering is, but this is what almost everyone thinks it is nowadays. It's ridiculous. And so hopefully you understand more what I mean about mastering, why AI mastering is crap, because it's just irrelevant. It doesn't get to the core issue of what you should want mastering to be. And if you don't want mastering to be what I've described in this video, then you don't need mastering.